Did you know that the outer layer of your skin is dead tissue? No, that's gross and amazing at the same time. So let's talk about the layers of the skin. So we have three layers of the skin. We have your epidermis, the dermis, and your hypodermis. In this video, we'll be discussing about the most superficial layer of the skin, which is your epidermis. So let's talk about first your epidermis. Your epidermis is actually composed of five layers. Yes, it's composed of five layers. Composed of five layers called as your strata. It's called as strata or stratum. So we'll start from the bottom. So the bottom layer, the deepest layer, is called as your stratum basale. Stratum basale. Stratum basale. It's actually derived from the term basale. It's a base. So just right above the dermis. So in this layer, it's composed of keratinocytes. Keratinocytes means layers. Sorry, keratinocytes means cells. Keratin means protein. Composed actually of multiple layers of your keratinocytes, called as your cytokeratin. Called as your cytokeratin. So your cytokeratin is an intermediate filament which help gives our skin the top outer layer. In other animals, it is the main ingredient for like horns. Yeah. More ingredient of your horns or even hooves hooves. That is the top spot that protects our skin. Other very important thing to know here is here it occurs your rapid cell division because it is where cells made up here and they move upward. Cells of the deepest strata perform mitosis as new cells form. Another important thing there here in this layer is where we get our skin color. Cells that confer our skin color can be found here. These are called as your again melanocytes. It is called as your melanocytes. Cytes means cells again. So there is a special pigment there. You can see that one, that's a pigment that made in the cells that helps determine our skin color, and that is called as your melanin. It is called as your melanin. And it's interesting that it is not the number of melanocytes that determines how dark your skin is. In fact, people with dark skin and lighter color have the same number of melanocytes. It's actually melanin. Yes, you heard it right. It's actually melanin that determines how dark your skin color is. So the more melanin, the darker the skin. So as we move up to our next layer, over here we see there are keratinocytes or cytokeratinocytes and produce here a little bit. What is unique in this layer, we have this little connection started to be generating in between our keratinocyte and this guy is called as your desmosomes. Desmosomes. And this gives the name of this layer. So this is called as your stratum spinosum. Stratum spinosum. Why it is called as your stratum spinosum? If you view this in the microscope, in microscopic view, it looks like something like a figure, a structure of a star. They're pointy, they're shivered because they lose water, they're spiny, so remember that. Their structures like a star, it's pointy, it's shivered because they lose water, they're spiny. You see that? Remember that one, they're spiny. And another structure that sits in this layer actually is your immune cells. Yes, That's the characteristic of your spinosum is shivered, spiny, there. Another structure, this there's your immune cell. So they look for a foreign bodies or pathogens or things that could be destructive to our body, like bacteria and fungi, and eat them. And this is called as your Langerhans cells. Langerhans cells. So it's part actually of your immune system. Your Langerhans cells is part of your immune system. And this moving on to our superficial layer after your spinosum. Next layer is we have your superficial layers called as your granulosum. Granulosum, which means from the term granulosum, you have to remember class. It means granular layer, and this layer of keratinocytes compose a lot. It compose a lot of what class? Lot of granules. And it's very apparent when you look at the microscope. Yes, it's really apparent. Compose a lot of granules. And these granules are called as your kerat keratohyalin granules. I'll repeat, it's keratohyalin granules composed of other proteins which handles your keratin. So how to remember this class? Keratohyalin granules. It's actually your keratin handling protein because they move keratin around the cell. It's called again as your keratin handling proteins. Keratin handling proteins because they move keratin around the cell. And this layer, your granulosum, releases what we call, okay, granulosum releases what we call your lamellar bodies. Lamellar bodies, which compose or contains a bunch of lipids that then form together. So they form lipid layer. That is, of course, when they form lipid layer, it's actually thick, so it's impermeable. That gives the skin watertight capability. That, of course, prevents pathogens making their way down to the skin layer and deeper down to the skin, down to your bloodstream. So we're done with your bacillus, spinosum, granulosum. Another layer is your lucidum, stratum lucidum. It's actually a clear layer. Yes, it's actually a clear layer. So the characteristic of your stratum lucidum, these are actually dead keratinocytes. Yes, they are dead keratinocytes. They are zombies keratinocytes because they lost their nuclei and other organelles. That's usually give the color more alive layers. So it's more of like see-through than other layers. Yes, again, they are dead keratinocytes. They like zombies keratinocytes. They are see-through than other layers. They are dead layers. Parang ikaw patay na patay sa kanya. Charat. Another important note on this side is they lost nuclei and organelles, which usually give color to the cells. Give color to the cells. So we're done with your four layers. Now we go to the topmost layer of your epidermis, which is actually your stratum corneum. Stratum corneum, your corners also is a dead skin. Parang sa crush mo, patay na patay, patay na patay ka sa kanya. Also dead skin. So, one key characteristic of your stratum corneum, it's actually composed of a stock layer of flat, simple keratinocytes. Yes, it's composed of flat, simple keratinocytes, almost 15 to 20 epithelial cells. They're actually dead skin cells also because they died in your stratum lucidum. 15 to 20 layers of your epithelial cells. Randomly, as well as continuously, these layers slough off, making a way are therefore newer keratinocytes make their way up to the top. And another interesting thing is that your reptile, your reptile green, your reptile green will molt. What do you mean by the word molt? They will shed off in this layer in one piece. Yes, what is the structure of the skin? You can see a snake skin. Parang yung beshi mo ahas. Snake skin that comes off. Ew, that's gross actually and interesting at the same time. So that is about the 5 layers of your skin. We have your corneum lucidum, which are actually dead skin cells, and your granulosum spinosum